Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, and it feels like it's been a very long year since I last stood in front of this flag, but yes, here we are on the 41st and final song review of Eurovision 2019, and the last song this year comes to us from host nation Israel. And they've had quite the fortuitous year, what with, kind of winning last year's contest, and now they're hosting this year, and they kept us waiting for their entry, and now we have it, and we know that it is performed by Kobi Marimi, and the title of it is Home, which was announced about roughly a couple of weeks before the song was actually released. It's entirely in English, music and lyrics by Ohad Shargai and Inbar Reitzman. I'm hoping I'm saying those correctly because I am very unfamiliar with Israeli pronunciations of things in general. But yeah, so what have they got to follow up Netta's amazing victory with then? Well, first of all, can I just reiterate, our hosts certainly kept us waiting this year. I feel like that doesn't happen often, and it sounds like a criticism. It's not meant to be a criticism. It's just, there's something aesthetically pleasing about the last song to be revealed coming from the host country. In any case, I did not know what to expect at all this time around, but then again, after Toy, did anyone know what Israel might have planned? So with that in mind, I'm happy to report that they've actually pulled a really impressive, heartfelt ballad out of the bag, and it's a song that I actually really rather enjoy when I kind of wasn't expecting to. That being said, I do fully own up to the fact that the Tess of 10 years ago would absolutely have no time for this song whatsoever, but that was then. Now, in the present day, I am entirely here for this. So without further ado, let's look a bit more closely at why I, and others like me, feel the way we do. First up, let's consider the very first thing that we hear when the song starts, shall we? Obviously, as someone born and raised in Britain to British parents, I have absolutely zero authority on this subject, but to my ears at least, the vocal stylings that Kobi opens the song with sets the tone in a way that certainly sounds like it culturally identifies as being distinctly an Israeli Eurovision entry. Like, there's something about that kind of vocalization that seems to pertain to countries in Israel's general vicinity. Not just Israel, but like, that general area. It sounds like that part of the world's flavor of music. And it's nice to see that they worked in that kind of cultural identity into the song without it feeling hastily shoehorned in, and without it compromising the intended structure of the piece just for the sake of sounding distinctly local. But don't get me wrong, it's good that it sounds local and not just like generic mystery meat song auctioned off to the highest bidder, because I have less respect for that. But anyway, also, I really do need to find a better way of describing this, but without saying the P-O-E-T-R-Y word again, just know that I find the lyrics of the song to be beautifully written, perhaps the most so out of all of this year's songs, well, at least off the top of my head anyway. None of the rhymes feel contrived, all of the imagery works perfectly, and it sounds natural. I mean, okay, running barefoot through the mountaintops, questionable. I can hug the water when it snows, bit weird, but I can roll with it. Overall, it sounds like a work of art, and that helps the emotional gravity that the whole song is going for in general. So we have quality lyrics, sung with genuine feeling, to a tune that matches those feelings down to the ground. Yep, it's all here, it checks out. This song is an emotional meteor that holds nothing back. Kind of funny how I keep comparing Israel's songs to like meteorological events, because like last year Netta was a tornado, and the Israeli broadcaster did like a compilation of people who had reacted to Netta's song, and they called it Netta Tornado, presumably because I described her as a tornado. I'm getting off topic. The point is, this song is a meteor. And, of course, I've made this point so many times this year for so many different songs, and it remains true here as well. Kobi, as the singer of the song, plays an important role in the performance because he is the perfect match for this piece. Like, he has exactly the right vocal style for both the words and the vocalizations, and he performs it incredibly sincerely. Like, he wasn't directly involved in the writing of the song as far as I know, and yet it suits him 100%, and he makes it his own. For those 3 minutes, I fully believe that this is Kobi's story, and every last emotion that he feels and puts into those words that he sings, I completely follow and understand and believe, and long-time viewers of mine should know that that is not an easy thing to do with me, so that is a distinctive mark of quality here. Israel is, once again, serving top quality stuff. On the other hand, though, this is the sort of song that not everyone's going to love, and that's okay. To bring up another point that applies to a fair few different songs this year, this is another instance of a song where if you don't engage with ballads in general, or if you don't care what the story is that he's telling you, you're gonna check out pretty quickly for the 3 minutes that the song is on for, and kind of not give a hoot about its emotional gravity or sincerity or whatever. That's valid. Not everyone comes to music for this sort of experience. That is also further compounded by the instrumentation kind of adopting a too little too late sort of approach, in that for about 80% of the song it's pretty much just Kobi's vocals and the piano and very little else, and then just for the final refrain some drums come in. If listener engagement is waning by that point in the song, then that kind of minimal build-up isn't going to win them back, and I'm sort of in two minds over how much it actually adds to the composition anyway. Upon my first listening, I thought that it needed more and sooner, and with subsequent listens, I flipped to the opposite way of thinking, that it'd be better without the drums and leave the dramatic flourishing just to Kobi's voice, and now I'm just plain old unsure. How could this song be more engaging? Does it need to be more engaging? I don't know! I'm an expert and I'm confused! And speaking of the ending of the song as well, I feel like the actual ending itself kind of sacrifices a little bit of structural integrity just for the sake of having a stage school textbook dramatic finish. That is the somewhat cliché repetition of the last line of the refrain, the whole "now I'm done, I'm coming, now I'm done, I'm coming, now I'm done, I'm coming home" part. Whereas the rest of the lyrics have been serious in tone and easy to accept with a straight face, that repetition kind of detracts from the mood a little bit for me, but then again, it gives the song a prominent and unmistakable ending point, which in itself is psychologically satisfying, so I suppose it just comes down to whether or not you think that payoff is worth it. What a surprise, your opinions of the song are dictated by your opinions on the song. Who would have guessed? So, with all of that being established, how would I rate this song on a scale of numbers? Personally, I'm thinking a 9 out of 10 will do just fine here. Emotional songs very rarely click with me, because reviewing songs on YouTube for 6 years has left me cold and dead on the inside, so to listen to this and to actually feel something is a refreshing sensation. It's not as if I one-to-one feel every last little thing that he's feeling in like an empathetic, codependent sort of way, but I at least appreciate what he's going for on a deeper level than I do with other emotional songs, at least to enough of an extent that I enjoy this song, and I enjoy its story, and I enjoy feeling for him, despite it not being my favourite genre of music by a long shot. Like, my father has no patience for ballads whatsoever, and at least some of that did end up in my musical tastes too, but the door is just open enough for me to be able to appreciate a good Balkan ballad from time to time, and something as brilliantly executed as this song. As for the technical aspects, meanwhile, I would award it another 9 out of 10. My chief concern here is just that its instrumentation will put some people off if they're not here for the emotional side of the song, and the fact that the only real development, the only real build-up that it gets, aside from the stuff that Kobi does with his voice, that is a relatively lackluster percussion line in the final 30 seconds or so, just further salts that wound a little bit, if that bothers you, which it might not, and that's valid too. But like I'm having to mitigate it here because that does sound more harsh than I'm intending to be. Realistically, in my mind, this song kind of follows in the footsteps of Lithuania's entry from last year in a lot of ways, but just not developing musically in quite as engaging of a way, I guess. But nevertheless, it is indisputably a good song. I don't want my weird way of wording it to confuse the issue here. Israel can be proud to call it their entry at the contest that they're hosting. It's a good song. I'm just trying to find what that extra little bit could be to push it over the line into being 10 out of 10 perfect, implying that 10 out of 10 is perfect. 10 out of 10 doesn't have to be perfect. The point is this song is good. My goodness, just say the words. But is it a step in the right direction for Israel and their history at the contest? I mean, it's low-key the same approach as last year, really, so I think this is another case of neutral but good. Like, everything's the same as last year, apart from last year they had, like, the fame/infamy/popularity/virality or whatever of Netta's music video and whatever, but other than that, everything's pretty much the same, and that's fine because that approach netted them a victory, pun intended. Also, it's good that they're not just rehashing the same songwriting team over and over again, but then again, Doron Medali only wrote Toy, Made of Stars and Golden Boy in recent memory, so it's not like this is the first year for them to be branching out from him, so yeah, no improvement necessary. Israel's staying strong in a good place, picking their singer through Rising Star and selecting their entry internally. They've had nothing but qualifiers through that method so far, so why fix what isn't broken? Having acknowledged that though, would this song qualify if it needed to? Naturally, as the host nation, Israel is automatically pre-qualified for this year's grand final, and I think that is the safest route for it. Yeah, it is another graduate of the Israeli school of picking songs for Eurovision through Rising Star and then selecting internally, but I do worry about this one's potential in the long run. Host nation entries tend not to do brilliantly on the scoreboard, with some notable exceptions, of course. I think performing, 14th in the final running order, I think it is? Something like that. Performing around then will help, no doubt. But I worry that this song may be overshadowed by some of the more boisterous entries this year. Like, it holds its own as an emotional ballad, but if it was surrounded on both sides by Malta and Switzerland, for example, would people still remember it was there? Would it be an oasis of calm in the middle of a party, or would it just be 3 minutes of drag in between two upbeat songs? Again, it depends on the listener. It may be too tender and sincere to gather the momentum it would need to repeat Netta's success from last year, but that being said, this is a viciously competitive year anyway, and this is the sort of song that the juries traditionally love, and they're bound to recognise Kobi's talents as a singer on top of that. Televote-wise, I'm less confident, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. People absolutely loved Amar Polosh Deutsch, and this is similarly an emotional ballad, so I don't think this will do quite as unfortunately as our last two host entries in their respective finals. I don't know if this would do as well as the host entry before that, but it won't do as badly as the host entry before that, and I'm getting lost in my own brain here at this point, so I'll just bring things back to earth and say, to Israel, you've done an excellent job picking a host representative for this year, and as far as I've seen, everything's looking good for the contest, so I can't wait to see how you perform on home soil. Good luck to Kobi, good luck to Team Israel, good luck to the whole broadcaster organising the event. I can't wait to see just what you put together when the time comes for you to shine.